So this is the neighborhood I grew up in, right in Ferguson. A friend of mine was actually shot in his driveway, right there.
You put drugs in the communities, put guns in the communities, put disease in the communities, put poor food in the communities. All these things are designed to shorten your life expectancy.
It's by design. It is not accidental that this is what's in the hood and this is what's over there.
There's actually an active hand in making sure that we living like this.
It's all about control, money, and survival to them.
Your death is not an expense to them, it's an expense to you.
They're trying to make money from us, even if it's at the expense of killing us. You just die slow. Your family just watches you die.
The alcohol industry, fast food industries, tobacco industries target communities of color.
Your health is not their main priority. They're trying to keep you sick.
We are in a state of emergency when it comes to our health.
Keeping people sick is very lucrative.
Now you want pills, now you want dialysis, now you want medicine. You going to the hospital on a regular to see your doctor. Everybody's getting paid, except you.
Big pharma and pharmaceutical companies are making billions of dollars off of all of us.
As long as they can make that dollar, they don't care if you live or die.
It's something about being here that's making black people sick.
Everybody's getting paid, except you. You hurting.
There are more dangerous and harmful chemicals in products made for women of color.
It absolutely is a crisis.
They don't make a dime if you're healthy.
It's kind of like the dope game. It is the dope game. It's just a bigger gangster, the mob boss.
You look at the hidden hand, you see that government is feeding the crisis.
We're fed wrong knowledge, sized all the wrong food.
It's about money over people's health.
If you can control a population's access to food, you can control the person.
Only about 8% of African Americans even live in communities that have a grocery store in them.
Because the deep root problem is the food.
Because poor diets kill more brothers than pistols. You know, we fighting for our lives. That's like Michael Vick's pit bulls.
As black men, we're dying off so quickly in so many ways.
It's here, pocketed in our communities.
They don't want a healthy population.
That is injustice, plain and simple.
The powers that be that are making that money at the top, they trying to kill us.
So what you just saw is the trailer for They're Trying to Kill Us, the latest documentary within the plant-based community by my good friend John Lewis, whom you might know from social media as Badass Vegan on Instagram, Twitter, and whatnot. And so he's a good friend of mine, and I'm really proud of the work he's put into this documentary. John has been a staple on this channel for quite some time. I'll go ahead and link one of his interviews right here, and the second of which will be at the end of this video. So without giving too much away, John teamed up with Keegan Kuhn, who was also part of the What the Health documentary that launched on Netflix a couple of years ago and actually put the plant-based community on the map in terms of mainstream reach. And so they teamed up together to make this documentary called They're Trying to Kill Us, which highlights the I want to say disadvantages of when it comes to food with minorities, specifically the African American community, the Latino community, as well as the Native Indigenous community here in the United States. To me, this was an eye-opener simply because I felt as though I was touching base on everything regarding the vegan community, whether it's environmental impact on climate change and global warming, choosing to eat a whole foods, plant-based diet in terms of personal health, and as a result, obviously, animal rights activism and being an advocate for the animal. And so I learned the hard way. This came as a shock to me. That was the tip of the iceberg when it comes to what actually happens behind closed doors and what's lurking in the shadows when we're not looking. John and Keegan definitely uncover what is truly happening from a societal standpoint in terms of how government, corporations, big name entities, and even the pharmaceutical industry band together to not just pass laws, but also feed off of each other to marginalize those communities that are in the inner cities and come from low-income neighborhoods. Without giving too much away, of course, because I do want you to see this for yourself, a couple of the highlights that stood out to me were the fact that whenever a supermarket closes in an inner city or a low-income neighborhood, there is, for whatever reason, some sort of rule within contracts for these cities that another one cannot open in 15 years. I'm going to say that again. If a supermarket or a grocery store closes, another one cannot open for another decade and a half. And I found that to be mind-boggling. But John did a wonderful job in uncovering what happens during those 15 years where these low-income communities and inner cities and its constituents have to resort to very bad food sources like fast foods and mom and pop shops that are not necessarily inclined to provide health-oriented foods. John and Keegan also uncover the fact that most of factory farms and manufacturers are located within the realm of a inner city as well as a low-income community, specifically when it comes to minorities. And so the fact that a lot of pig farms exist in North Carolina is not happenstance, as they often use that word in the documentary. It's definitely by design. It's meant to be there for a reason, and that reason is, the underlying systemic racism that these companies have towards minorities, again, African Americans, Latinos, and Indigenous. The last thing I casually want to mention is the fact that John and Keegan did a phenomenal job in shining light on cardiovascular disease, specifically when it comes to heart disease, diabetes, and things of that nature, simply because these communities are at a physical disadvantage of not being able to access healthy foods, which in later turns to the medical realm of their livelihood. And so it's done a great job at going full circle about how being at a disadvantage for getting resources definitely puts you right in the scope of having to rely on medicine and being constantly tended to by doctor. And so it did a phenomenal job at tying those two together. And I think this is one of the most impactful, insightful, and well put together documentaries I think I've ever seen in this plant-based community. And I highly encourage you to watch it. And so right now, I don't think it's streaming anywhere that you would probably think, such as a Hulu or a Netflix. However, I did invest and pay it forward with $5 on Vimeo. So right now, if you actually go to they'retryingtokillus.com, you can in fact purchase this documentary for a full 24 hours to watch and enjoy yourself, or hook somebody up with a link if you want. It doesn't matter as long as you do invest a couple of bucks to watch it. I think it's definitely worth the $5. So instead of going to a Starbucks and getting yourself a fancy cup of coffee, watch this documentary and open your eyes to the reality that a lot of these communities face when it comes to not being able to live a healthy, plant-based lifestyle, which is within reach of everybody, literally everybody on planet Earth. That's going to be it for me, guys. I definitely don't want to give too much away. This is not sort of an in-depth review that I'm accustomed to, because this is actually one of those documentaries that you sort of need to see for yourself as opposed to have somebody like myself break it down. So again, feel free to swing by they'retryingtokillus.com, fork over some $5, and let these guys know that this was definitely worth making. If you enjoy this kind of content and this is the first time that we are meeting, my name is Francis. I happen to be the CEO and founder of the Petmosphere app, amateur photographer, videographer, as well as animal rights activist, which is why I wanted to let you in on this movie. So in case you haven't done so, feel free to give it a watch. And if you did, let me know in the comments below what shocked you the most out of this documentary. So on behalf of myself on this channel, I want to give a wonderful virtual hug and a shout out to John and Keegan for putting this together. Loved every minute of it. Very proud of how far you've come, John, and I guarantee this is just the beginning. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.
Beat by Apollo, stop at New Apollo's.